Hey, it's Jayla and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be putting us in the holiday spirit because it is the holiday season, it's the end of the year, and it's just a time of giving. So for this video I have some recommendations for books that you should give to people who you don't actually like. This video is for that person who has a cousin who borrowed their copy of The Fifth Wave and then just never returned it. Nay, they lost it. Don't know what happened to it. No explanation. The books on this list are also good gifts for your so-called friend who borrowed your copy of Fear and then returned it looking like this. Look at these wrinkles. I don't even know what to call them. She did not look like this when I gave it away. Just generally, these are good gifts because you probably already own them anyway and you want to get rid of them. So it's a good win-win scenario, I think. But really, this video is just me sharing my worst reads of 2020, so you can do with that information what you will. I would think they make good gifts for people you don't like though, so just consider that. So let's get into the worst books I read this year. Coming in at number 5 is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is a beloved classic novel. I know a lot of people think this story is amazing, and it had me in the first half, I'm not gonna lie. I was interested in the first half. I was like, wow, what a cool story, what an interesting group of characters, but then it just got so dumb. And while at the time I was super interested in that whole storyline with the romance and him falling in love with this girl who secretly couldn't act or something, he was just blinded by her beauty, I don't remember, something like that. I realize in retrospect how dumb that was. Although I understand the message, why? I also just don't know how we're supposed to feel about Dorian. Are we supposed to like him? Are we supposed to sympathize with him? Because I felt neither of those things while reading it. And by the end I was just completely unsatisfied with this story and just the avenue it chose to take to get there. But my biggest gripe with this book would have to be chapter 11, which I've mentioned on this channel like way back in the early stages of my booktubing, but I'll just bring it back here for the sake of the full circle. Chapter 11 of this book is just so long and weird, and like not weird in like a weird way. I just mean it doesn't add anything to the story really. It's like a sped up, it's like an epilogue, but not, because it just talks about all this stuff that Dorian suddenly gets into and what he like, how he moves around in different circles of society and stuff. And it was just so long and so boring and so zoomed out from what the actual story we'd been following the whole time was, that I almost died while reading it. I was curdling, I was shriveling up inside. I was in physical pain while reading chapter 11 and I have not yet recovered, but I want you to also suffer, so we're going to read some excerpts from it. It was rumored of him once that he was about to join the Roman Catholic communion, and certainly the Roman ritual had always a great attraction for him. The daily sacrifice, more awful really than all the sacrifices of the antique world, stirred him as much as by its superb rejection of the evidence of the senses as by the primitive simplicity of its elements and the eternal pathos of the human tragedy that it sought to symbolize. On one occasion he took up the study of jewels and appeared at a costume ball as Anne de Jouy, an admiral of France, in a dress covered with 560 pearls. Then he turned his attention to embroideries and to the tapestries that performed the office of frescoes in the chill rooms of the northern nations. He had a special passion also for ecclesiastical vestments, as indeed he had for everything connected with the service of the church. He used to give curious concerts in which mad gypsies tore wild music from their little zithers, or grave yellow-shawled Tunisians plucked at the strained strings of monstrous lutes, while grinning Negroes beat monotonously upon copper drums and crouching upon scarlet mats. So we're just gonna sidestep the whole grinning Negroes thing, but you see my point. What was that chapter? Why did I need all of that in one chapter instead of telling an actual story? So yeah, I still haven't fully recovered from that experience, but hopefully you get what I mean. Coming in as the 4th worst book I read in 2020 would be We Are the Wildcats by Siobhan Vivian. This book is about a field hockey team, and it's like the beginning of the season and they're recruiting new people and getting all these freshmen and stuff onto the team, and they have to do kind of a sleepover to bond with each other and become stronger as a team before their big scrimmage that starts off the season. So while they're getting to know each other at this thing, we are following 6 different perspectives, 6 girls, and each one is going about their day and also kind of helping us get a better picture of what it's like to work with their amazing coach who has made their field hockey team so much better, but is also hella manipulative and a real creep. Like, very much a creep. So by the end of this book, the girls kind of unite together in the realization that they are all victims of something that should never have been allowed to occur, and they need to get rid of this coach. And you know, on its own, that sounds like a great story, but you didn't need 6 POVs to do that. And they certainly didn't need them because a lot of them had nothing to say. There was literally an entire plot line for one girl dyeing her hair blue and the coach saying it looked terrible. And that was it. That was the whole thing that she brought into the bigger puzzle piece. And I just don't think we needed that journey. I really don't. And then there were other things, like an Asian character in this book who experienced racism, and I remember it just not being really that big of a thing. Like, they mentioned it obviously, but it didn't feel like it was really there to have a discussion about it. It was just there. You care so much about this girl's blue hair. But when this girl, I don't even remember what happened, what the incident of racism was, but I just know that it didn't get as much time as it needed, honestly. So anyway, we find out throughout the story how just very terrible this coach is. He's emotionally abusive, he's verbally abusive, and other things that I won't get into here. But by the end, the confrontation they have with him is so whack. Like, they didn't do anything. It's the end of the book, and it basically cuts out in the middle of the scene. It feels very, like, abrupt, and we don't really get a really powerful standing up to him kind of thing. I just remember being very unimpressed with it. Sitting around with these characters for 24 hours, pulling really lame pranks, quite frankly, and listening to everything this guy says, they don't really have the powerful, meaningful moment that they should have, because it gets this really just abrupt stop. And it's implied that everything works out and, like, he's gonna go, but it's not enough. I want them to flame his ass, basically. Like, I needed to see some verbal assault. They should have exposed him, and they did not expose him, and that drives me insane.
Boo!
Coming in at number 3 is Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. I read this back in November, so it's a pretty recent one, and I remember a lot of the details of it, except that I don't, because not a lot happens in this book, and the memories are kind of blurry. What I do remember is that I felt like this book was really poorly written. At some points, I felt like I was following around a 3rd grader because she just had such simple thoughts, and then we went on about those simple thoughts for so long. It had a really great premise, so I'm super disappointed by how it turned out, because it's about this girl named Amelia and her twin sister who are witches. Hi, puppy. Oh, you can go that way, I guess. Don't touch my chocolate milk. One day, Amelia, who is our main character, finds her sister Vittoria, and she has been brutally murdered and her heart has been stolen. And we don't know what happened, but we're trying to solve the mystery of what happened to Vittoria. Amelia finds out that her twin sister has been doing some shady dealings with some demon princes and other hellish things that she shouldn't have been worried about. So she ends up enlisting the help of the Prince Wrath, who is one of the 7 princes of hell, and together they try and solve the mystery of her sister's murder. That sounds so cool. It brings in these demon princes, and they represent the 7 deadly sins, and it's just a cool setting. And then they just blow it. It lacks any sort of intelligence. The atmosphere is all wrong. It just wasn't really, it wasn't well written. And it baffles me that this somehow has 4 stars on Goodreads. I don't see what everyone else sees. I don't understand it. I really, really need someone to explain it to me, because this book was not that good. I really didn't care about the characters in this book either, which is a huge problem because they're with us the entire time. So Amelia, she's the main character, and she's really plain. She makes a lot of dumb decisions, but she's also supposed to come off as really clever, so it's just confusing because the 2 actions do not make sense together. One moment she's running right into a very obvious trap, and the next moment she's fooling a demon prince into giving her exactly what she wants somehow. The love interest Wrath, I found him to be super sexy. He was hot, but he wasn't cute. And if you need me to explain that distinction, it was basically like, yes, he is attractive, but I don't like him. I don't find him as someone I would want to be with, because he was so annoying and just snarky and mean all the time, and that's not his fault. It was the dialogue's fault. But yeah, I didn't fall in love with him, which is kind of the whole point of the book. At the end of the day, I think that Kerri Maniscalco spent more time writing recipes for Italian cuisine than she did developing these characters. So if you want to be hungry, read this book. If you want to be entertained, don't. But I can't even say that I wasn't a little bit entertained, because I probably will be reading the sequel next year, and I hate myself for that, but they kind of got me at the end.
You suck!
The number 2 spot for the worst read I read this year was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I know, I bet you thought I was going to put this as number 1 with how much I talked about it this year, but no. This is number 2. I have given a lot of energy and time to this book, so I am not going to spend 2 minutes talking about why this book is bad. Now it is time for some honorable mentions, because while they didn't quite make the cut as the worst books I read, they certainly deserve some time on the screen. My first honorable mention is The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. Don't come for me. This book has had lots of mixed reviews. All I'm going to say about it is that it wanted to be Six of Crows so bad. The writing was good, but you couldn't get me to care about those characters if you paid me $1 million. Another one would be Gaio by Junji Ito, which it was good at first, I was enjoying it, but then it just kept going and it was so long, and I've never had more of a problem with too much world building until I read this book. And the last honorable mention is Riding the Storm by Brenda Jackson, which would have been on the actual list if I had remembered that I had read it this year. I guess I'm trying to repress my memory of it because, yeah, it only just now occurred to me like, oh, that was a book I really didn't like. I have a whole vlog of my experience with this book that I will link somewhere up there or down there, whatever, and you can go watch that to learn more about my strong feelings towards this book. Last but not least, coming in at the number 1 spot, the worst book I read, the one that made me feel the most emotions of hatred and a desire to die.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Down and Across by Arvin Amati. This is a book that I wanted to read for so many years after it came out. I think it came out in 2017 or 2018, so it's been a long time and I was really excited to read it. I got it this year and I dug into it and I ended up hating everybody. I hated everything about this book. I really did. Every character in this book is either super bland or really fucking annoying, and we have a manic pixie dream girl in this book named Fiora, what's her name? I don't even know. I don't care. She was rude, a tinge bit racist, I think, towards the beginning, and overall just really not fun to be the main character's love interest, because first of all, she's like 4 or 5 years older than him, she's in college and he's like 16, and second, she's just rude and she gets them into a lot of trouble and it's not really entertaining, it's just annoying, and I just wanted her to go away. Not to mention she has a boyfriend and they have literally no chemistry because he has no personality and she has too much personality. There was like a scene where she stole her boyfriend's bike and gave it to Scott, which is the main character. I haven't even talked about what this book is about, but whatever. You don't give a stolen bike to a brown boy. You don't know what's gonna happen to him. She was just such an annoying little white girl. I did not like her, and as for Scott, he has no hobbies, and that just makes him super annoying as a character because, like I said, he has no personality, he has no interest, and following someone around with no interest is not very interesting. So this is about Scott Fordowsi. I believe his parents immigrated here, and they kind of have high hopes for him. They're not even that bad. They're not overbearing, but they just want him to have an interest in something, so they kind of like make him do internships and stuff. And he's like, I don't want to do all this stuff, da 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 da, like it's not what interests me. And his dad's like, well, what interests you? Because we'll be willing to like work with you if you give me anything to work with. And he's like, I don't know, Dad, stop pressuring me. But how are you 16 with absolutely no interest in anything? It really doesn't make any sense. I'm on team Dad because Dad knows what he's talking about. Dad at least wants to encourage him to get out and try things. So anyway, he runs away to Washington, D.C. when his parents take a trip back to their home country, and they don't know that he's gone, so he spends the summer hanging out with this girl named Fiora that he meets on the bus and Fiora's friends. He tries to find passion and grit by working with a professor at Georgetown, which, yeah, that's realistic, that some professor from Georgetown is going to give you, a 16-year-old with no interest, the time of day. Sure, right, okay. So he experiences this summer in DC, hanging out with older people, getting into bars and stuff. I don't really know what this book is about other than that. Nothing happens, nothing changes by the end. He still has no idea what he's passionate about, but now he knows that he has a passion for learning about passion, and he wants to study that at Georgetown, I think. I don't remember. The point is, the story was dumb. The little bit of conflict that there does happen to be in this book is completely breezed over by the end of it, and none of these characters, who are horrible, need I remind you, face any sort of consequences or any sort of reality check for their actions. I just want 320 pages of my life back. That's all I have to say about this book. Those were my least favorite reads of 2020. I highly recommend giving them to your enemies because I think they'll make for a great gift. I'm done talking. Thanks so much for watching. Please feel free to like this video if you enjoyed it. And if you like this content, please subscribe for more videos from me. Please leave a comment telling me about what your worst book of 2020 was, or your top 5, whatever you want to do. Take care of yourselves in the meantime, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye!